Thank you, Errol, and congratulations to all of you who were part of Dutch Morial's administration. I didn't see David Marcello out there, so don't y'all tell him I called him short. You know, the thing that made Dutch such a great strategist was he served as an intelligence officer in the military. And he put great stock in intelligence. You couldn't have an effective campaign without intelligence on the other person. Without the intelligence on all of, there's David, without intelligence on all of your opponents. And as such, he hired another young, bright, talented officer of his administration as his intelligence man who would gather all of the information. It was his job to beat the bushes, to find out everything he could about the opponents. And I can remember walking into a fundraiser once and having the mayor say something very personal to me, and I said, well, how do you know this? He says, I'm the mayor. I know everything. And to this day, I believe it was Michael Bagneris who told him. So here to share with you the information on the late Dutch Morial's campaign strategy, the 70s and 80s officials who were elected to office under his guidance, the Dutch Morial campaign staff and volunteers, the Honorable Michael G. Bagneris.
Good evening. First of all, I'd like to add my thanks to Marc for having this event. It's just wonderful. I've been seeing people that I hadn't seen in so long. It was just a great idea, and we thank you for hosting it. Yeah, I was asked to just try to describe what it was like being the executive counsel to Mayor Morial, and that's like trying to capture lightning in a bottle. It can't be done. Suffice to say that such a dynamic individual, Dutch was such a dynamic individual that it was the most exciting, thrilling, rewarding public service I've ever rendered in my professional career, and that's bar none. That's including my judgeship. Dutch was that kind of person to inspire you, to mentor you, and he was very, very unselfish in terms of the mentoring component. You saw in the video they were talking about his love for kids. He just loved passing on the knowledge that he had, the talent that he had, and I can't express how grateful I am, how I will always remember, and how I will always be grateful for the confidence that he placed in me and for the doors of opportunity that he opened for me. And speaking of doors of opportunity, my task is to introduce to all of you, all of those elected officials of the 70s and 80s who are present today. And I'm going to ask every elected official who was elected in the 70s, 80s to please stand, because you are part of the extended family. I would also at this time like to ask everyone who's ever knocked on a door, passed out a leaflet, made a phone call, put up a sign, brought somebody to the poll, talked to a neighbor, everybody who had all those multitasks to perform in a campaign that was either for Dutch or under his mentoring, I'm going to ask you to stand as well. You know, before I take my seat, Dutch had many sayings. You saw one in the video where it indicated that my head may be blooded, but it's unbowed. Another one of his favorite sayings was, you can't hoot with the owl, but soar. One that I think that he would indicate was very relevant tonight was the fact that he would always say, defeat's an orphan, but victory has many fathers. All of you here tonight are the fathers for all the victories that took place during his administration, and he was well aware that his strength and his sustenance emanated from you. And if he were here today, he would say, keep the drive alive. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge. You know, Dutch Morial could not have been the man he was without his significant other being the woman she is. I remember during a protest where grassroots activists had taken over Dutch's office for 3 days, and we in the media had set up camp in the mayor's office. And it was Sally Ann Roberts and I had made ourselves comfortable by sitting on Dutch's desk. And I remember Monique saying, my mother says it's impolite to sit on desks. Chairs are made for sitting. That is just one fragment of what Sybil Morial is all about. She's a woman of great courage, grace, charm, elegance, poise, conviction, commitment, and above all, loyalty. And I always observed her as being the person who was the rock. I always observed her as being that steady influence. You talk about the 5 branches, well, she was part of the root of a tree that gave life and nurturing and education and intelligence to those branches. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to introduce to you the family matriarch and former First Lady of New Orleans, Ms. Sybil Morial.
Thank you. Can you see me? I remember when Queen Elizabeth came to this country to speak, they had to put a stool for her to stand on. So I'm always wondering, I'm so short, if the audience can see me, I can see you. Norman, that introduction was so warming, thank you. And to all of you, I tell you to look out at all of you. All the memories come back of your partnership with the Morials. 50 years, can you believe? First of all, during the Civil Rights Movement. There aren't many of us left, but I see some of you out there. When you partnered with us, we partnered with you to make this a better country, a better state, and a better city. And it wasn't easy. The boycotts, facing the Southerners who just did not want to change, all of that, and we were successful. And then, in 1968, we took on another role with all of you, answering, calling, making telephone calls, licking and sticking, which they don't do anymore, licking and stuffing. Everything is on computer. That was when Dutch ran for the legislature. And there were so many naysayers. They said, it's not the time, you can't do it. He said, yes, I can. And many of you came along with him. And he was victorious in 1968 in being elected a state legislator, the first one since Reconstruction. And that was just a beginning. Again, all through the years, you partnered with us. And the next challenge was after he had been appointed juvenile court judge by Governor McKithen, he ran for the seat and had no opposition. And a few years later, he ran for the Court of Appeal, and you were there again with us. And we were victorious. And then came the big one, 1977. When he said he was going to run for mayor, I tell you, there were a handful of people who said, you can do it. He said, yes, I can. I've been looking at it for years. He had investigated, and he says, I'm going to do it now. And soon, the support began to pick up with the force of his personality and his vision and his platform. He got the support, and he won. 1978, he became the first black mayor of New Orleans. And you know what? Through all of this, I want you to know, and Moon and Verna know this, that to live in a political fishbowl is hard on the children. They face many challenges. They were well-grounded before, and I wondered if they would still be. Well, they landed on their feet. And today, they are good persons. They are successful in their professions. They carry on the legacy of service in their professions and in their personal life. And for the first time, I am saying publicly, I'm so proud of my children, and I want them to stand, and I want you to know how I'm proud. I want to thank all of you for your loyalty and courage through the years. And I want to tell you that since Katrina, I have been displaced in Baton Rouge. It was not a bad place because 4 of my grandchildren are there. But while I was there, I have written a memoir. I have completed it. I have the manuscript. I will find a publisher soon, and I will share many of these stories from my personal life. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mrs. Morial. We're going to have to get you on the hot seat with that memoir. He kept his word. In the eulogy to his father, he said that he would keep the drive alive. He has been egalitarian in his effort. His integrity is unquestioned. I think he's probably been more vetted than the President of the United States. And many of you know what I'm talking about. His compassion for people is unchallenged. I have often wondered where a human being gets that much compassion for other human beings. If you've ever been around him, you know that it's difficult to keep him on schedule because he doesn't know how to say no to someone who wants to shake his hand. I think the man even loved campaigning more than his father. I think campaigning was a way of life for him, and in many ways, he was disappointed when the election was over. Has he been good for the city of New Orleans? I think the answer to that would be unquestionably yes. Has he made his city proud? Again, the answer would be an unqualified yes. I entreat you now to the video screen for a visual tribute now for the man of the hour, the third African-American mayor of the great city of New Orleans, former Mayor Marc Morial.
New Orleans is perfectly seasoned for the 1999 U.S. Conference of Mayors. Mayor Marc H. Morial invites you to come experience all the wonders of our great city. Marc Morial leads a revitalized New Orleans filled with optimism, a rebuilt infrastructure, good music, good food, and good jobs. Where once the nation's media spoke of New Orleans as one of the worst cities in America, they now call New Orleans America's comeback city. Marc Morial's election in 1994 was truly a turning point in New Orleans history. He created and named a unique American institution, the Gumbo Coalition, open to everyone who hungered for a chance to rebuild New Orleans and make it work. The Gumbo Coalition grew strong. Soon all New Orleans was fired up. When he ran for re-election in 1998, Marc Morial received almost 80% of the vote, the biggest victory for any mayor in the city's modern history. At the beginning, in 1994, Mayor Morial first tackled the problem of police corruption and brutality. With the help of the nonprofit New Orleans Police Foundation, Mayor Morial recruited Chief Richard Pennington and brought the now famous Comstat computerized system to and murders are down by more than 40%. Still recruiting and growing, the department will soon boast of 1,700 officers dedicated to safe streets. Mayor Morial and the Gumbo Coalition passed a record $375 million bond issue to rebuild the city's infrastructure, creating new jobs and business opportunities. An economic development initiative using grants, loans, and technical assistance helped promising entrepreneurs start small businesses while convincing big business that New Orleans is a great place to live and work. An $850 million capital improvement program is underway at the New Orleans International Airport to support our tourism economy while restoring New Orleans' niche as a gateway for international trade. Phase 3 of the city's convention center will make it the largest on one level in the nation. A new downtown arena opening next to the Louisiana Superdome will serve as a home for professional hockey and one day an NBA franchise. As a child, Marc Morial was among the first generation of African Americans to integrate NORD, the New Orleans Recreation Department. As mayor, he made the rebuilding of NORD a first priority. Today, more than 55,000 children participate in NORD programs at 10 centers and 117 playgrounds. Another priority for Mayor Morial and the Gumbo Coalition are the city's blighted and abandoned housing. Working with community development corporations, banks, and churches, a new generation of homeowners are bringing new life to the inner city. Mayor Morial has involved the entire nation in New Orleans' comeback. We've hosted more Super Bowls and other major sporting events than any city in America. Essence Magazine continues to choose New Orleans as the site for their annual summer festival. Important conventions, including the National Association of Television Program Executives, regularly come to New Orleans. The New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Festival is an internationally acclaimed event. President Clinton frequently comes to New Orleans to applaud our progress, as does Vice President Gore, many cabinet members, and heads of state. But there is still much to do. As in many American cities, New Orleans public schools are struggling. Mayor Morial has wholeheartedly lent his support to the newly formed Greater New Orleans Education Foundation, a partnership that has, for the first time, fully involved the business community in the rebuilding of public education. Mayor Morial believes that our children are the future. The product of a home where loving, strict parents set high standards of achievement, Mayor Morial has instituted the nation's toughest curfew for youth. He has personally participated in reading and recreational programs and has become a role model for thousands of New Orleans youngsters.
America's cities are the nation's true heartland, the centers of commerce, culture, international trade, tourism, sports, and recreation. I believe that American cities can rise to a new level of excellence, where safe streets, paved streets, and streets that lead to jobs are created by coalitions of diverse peoples working together on behalf of and for America's cities.
New Orleans takes pride in being one of America's greatest comeback cities, and New Orleans takes equally great pride in a young mayor who has provided the impetus for an historic comeback. Come see what the people of New Orleans have accomplished during the 1999 U.S. Conference of Mayors Convention next June at the Fairmont Hotel. New Orleans is perfectly seasoned for the U.S. Conference of Mayors.
We've seasoned our food just the way you like it.
We've even seasoned our music to get just the right beat.
We'll teach you to second line when the Saints go marching in.
Come to New Orleans, have a great time.
We want to sing with you, cook for you, help you shop, and show you the wonders of our world-renowned city.
We've got the seasoning, and we've got the city.
See you in New Orleans at the U.S. Conference of Mayors Convention, June 1999.
Please come forward and administer the oath of office to the Honorable Marc Morial, Mayor of New Orleans.
And Judge Ortiz now to administer the oath. Morial going over to the other side of the podium.
Marc, I can say that to him because I watched him grow up. And I can say that to him because he represents another generation, but a child of many who are responsible and who made this moment possible, Marc. When I think about A.P. Touro, along with your father and Mutt Trudeau and Daniel Byrd, they made many sacrifices. And I would remind you that your grandfathers, C.C. Haddell Sr., as well as Walter Etienne Morial, expected this of you because they sacrificed. And you represent a new generation of the young people in desire and in all the other disadvantaged areas of our city to acknowledge that all of these things are possible. And so I ask you with pride and honor to raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I, Marc Morial.
I, Marc Morial.
Do solemnly swear.
Do solemnly swear.
That I will support the Constitution of the United States.
That I will support the Constitution of the United States.
And the Constitution of this state.
And the Constitution of this state.
And I will subscribe to the Charter.
That I will subscribe to the Charter.
And faithfully obey the ordinances.
And faithfully obey the ordinances.
Of this city.
Of this city.
And impartially discharge.
And impartially discharge.
And perform.
And perform.
All the duties incumbent upon me.
All the duties incumbent upon me.
As Mayor of the City of New Orleans.
As Mayor of the City of New Orleans.
State of Louisiana.
State of Louisiana.
According to the best of my ability.
According to the best of my ability.
And my understanding.
And my understanding.
So help me God.
So help me God.
A year or two, of course, you watched your husband, Ernest Morial, do that twice before, and now watching your son, Marc Morial, take the oath of office as the city's new mayor.
On tonight, I've got a message. We say to the drug pushers, to the gun-toting hoodlums, to the thugs who prey on helpless citizens, we say to them, there's a new sheriff in town, and we are going